Marcus Chen wiped his hands on his already dirty jumpsuit and looked at the grease that still covered his fingers. After 16 straight hours fixing the broken air recycling system on Kepler's rest station, he was too tired to care about anything except finding food and maybe a few hours of sleep. The orbital station buzzed with activity even at this late hour. Merchants from a dozen different worlds walked through the corridors, their strange languages mixing together into a constant hum of noise. Marcus had worked on this station for 3 years now, fixing everything from broken toilets to damaged hull plating. Most people ignored him, which was fine by Marcus. He preferred machines to people anyway. His stomach growled loudly as he walked past the usual food vendors in the lower levels. Everything was closed or looked terrible. Marcus remembered hearing other workers talk about a nice dining area somewhere in the upper sections. He had never been there before. But tonight, he was too hungry and tired to care about where he was supposed to eat. The elevator ride to the upper level took forever. Marcus leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. His whole body hurt from crawling through narrow maintenance tunnels all day. Some kind of coolant had leaked onto his clothes earlier, leaving bright blue stains across his chest. He probably smelled like chemicals and sweat, but he was too exhausted to go back to his tiny room and change. The upper dining area was nothing like the crowded, noisy lower levels. Soft lighting came from hidden sources, and the tables were made of some kind of smooth white material that seemed to glow from within. Marcus had never seen anything this fancy before. Most of the tables were empty, with only a few people sitting quietly in far corners. Marcus spotted an empty table near a large window that looked out into space. Perfect. He could eat while watching the stars, something that always helped him relax after difficult days. He dropped into the chair without looking around much and immediately felt better. The chair was incredibly comfortable, much better than anything in the worker areas. A small device on the table showed a menu in several different languages, including human English. Marcus touched the screen and started looking through the options. Everything was expensive, but he had been saving up his pay credits for months. Tonight felt like a good time to spend some of them. After ordering something called grilled nebula fish, Marcus leaned back and looked out the window. The view was amazing. He could see 3 different ships docking at the station's arms, their lights blinking in the darkness. One of them was a huge Althari vessel, probably carrying some important government officials. Marcus had worked on Althari ships before. Their technology was impressive, but they always seemed to make things more complicated than necessary. Long day, Marcus said to himself, then noticed he was not alone at the table. Sitting directly across from him was a young woman who looked like she was from one of the more advanced alien species. Her skin had a slight silver tint, and her eyes were larger than human eyes, with gold-colored irises that seemed to catch the light. She wore elegant clothes made from materials Marcus had never seen before. Everything about her screamed wealth and importance. Marcus felt his face turn red. He had obviously sat at the wrong table. This woman was clearly someone special. And here he was in his dirty work clothes, smelling like coolant and probably tracking grease onto the expensive furniture. Sorry, Marcus said quickly, starting to get up. I did not realize anyone was sitting here. I can find another table. The woman did not respond. She just looked at him with those golden eyes. Marcus noticed that she had not moved at all since he had seen her. Not even a small gesture or change in expression. She seemed frozen in place. Marcus sat back down slowly, feeling confused. Something was clearly wrong. The woman was beautiful, but there was something very still about her that made him uncomfortable. Her eyes tracked his movements, following him as he moved, but the rest of her body remained perfectly motionless. Are you okay? Marcus asked. Still no response, but her eyes definitely focused on his face when he spoke. Marcus looked around the dining area and saw 2 tall figures in dark uniforms standing near the wall. They were watching his table very carefully, their hands resting on weapons. Now Marcus really wanted to leave, but something stopped him. The woman's eyes looked intelligent and aware, even if she could not move or speak. There was something sad in her expression that made Marcus want to stay and figure out what was happening. The server brought Marcus his food, moving very carefully and quietly around the table. Marcus noticed that the server also brought a small cup of some kind of liquid and placed it carefully near the woman, though she made no move to drink it. Marcus started eating, glancing up at the woman every few seconds. She continued to watch him, and he began to feel like she was trying to tell him something with just her eyes. "I am Marcus," he said finally. "I fix things on the station. Mostly mechanical stuff. But sometimes I work on computers and life support systems too." The woman's eyes seemed to brighten slightly when he spoke. Marcus decided to keep talking. "Today was really hard," Marcus continued between bites of fish. "The air recycling system in Section 7 broke down completely. Took me most of the day to figure out what was wrong with it. Turns out someone had installed the wrong type of filter 3 months ago, and it finally gave up." Marcus found himself relaxing as he talked. The woman was a good listener. Even if she could not respond, her eyes stayed focused on him, and Marcus got the feeling that she was genuinely interested in what he was saying. "The worst part was that I had to crawl through this tiny maintenance tunnel to reach the main processor," Marcus said, gesturing with his fork. "My back is probably going to hurt for days." For the first time since he had sat down, Marcus thought he saw a very small change in the woman's expression. It might have been his imagination, but he thought she looked sympathetic, like she understood exactly how he felt. Marcus finished his meal while continuing to talk about his work, the station, and anything else that came to mind. The woman listened to every word, never looking away or seeming bored. When Marcus finally stood up to leave, he felt like he had just spent time with an old friend. "Thank you for letting me sit here," Marcus said. "Maybe I will see you again tomorrow." The woman's eyes followed him as he walked away, and Marcus was almost sure he saw something like gratitude in her golden gaze. Marcus returned to the upper dining area the next evening, hoping to find the same quiet table by the window. After another long day of repairs, he craved the peaceful atmosphere and the amazing view of space. To his surprise, the same woman was sitting in exactly the same position as before. She wore different clothes today. A deep blue outfit that seemed to shimmer when the light hit it. Her silver-tinted skin looked healthy, and her golden eyes were just as alert as Marcus remembered. But she still had not moved at all. Even her hands rested in exactly the same position on the table. "Hello again," Marcus said as he sat down across from her. "I hope you do not mind me joining you." The woman's eyes immediately focused on his face, and Marcus was certain he saw recognition there. She remembered him from yesterday. This made Marcus feel strangely happy, even though she could not actually say hello back. Marcus ordered dinner and started talking about his day, just like before. He told her about fixing a broken water pump and dealing with a difficult customer who insisted his cargo scanner was not working properly when it was actually working perfectly. "Some people just do not understand technology," Marcus said, shaking his head. This trader kept insisting that his scanner was broken because it would not detect some special crystals he was carrying. Took me 2 hours to explain that the crystals were in a lead-lined container, which blocks all scanning. He finally understood, but he was not happy about paying for my time. As Marcus talked, he began paying closer attention to the woman's responses. Her eyes did more than just look at him. When he said something funny, they seemed to sparkle. When he talked about difficult or frustrating parts of his day, they looked sympathetic. She was definitely understanding everything he said. Marcus also noticed a small device near the woman's right hand. It had a screen with symbols that changed when she looked at different parts of it. At first, Marcus thought it was just a decoration, but after watching carefully, he realized the symbols changed based on where her eyes were pointing. "That is interesting," Marcus said, nodding toward the device. "Is that how you talk to people?" The woman's eyes moved to look at the device, then back to Marcus's face. The symbols on the screen changed to show what looked like simple pictures. Marcus studied the device more carefully. The technology looked advanced, but also strangely limited. It seemed like it could only display basic symbols and pictures, not complex ideas or words. For someone who clearly understood everything around her, it must be incredibly frustrating. "Can you spell words with that?" Marcus asked. The woman's eyes moved over the device's screen, but nothing happened. After a few seconds, she looked back at Marcus with what he was learning to recognize as her frustrated expression. Over the following weeks, Marcus made visiting the table part of his daily routine. Every evening after work, he would come to the upper dining area and spend an hour or two talking with the woman. He learned that her name was Liara by watching her eyes spell it out slowly, using the basic device. Marcus also began to understand that Liara was much more important than he had originally thought. The guards who watched from nearby walls were not just security for the dining area. They were specifically there to protect her. Sometimes, well-dressed people would approach the table and speak to her in languages Marcus did not understand. They always treated her with great respect, but they also talked about her like she was not there, which made Marcus angry. "Why do they do that?" Marcus asked Liara one evening after a particularly rude official had spent 10 minutes discussing her condition while standing right next to their table. "You obviously understand everything they are saying." Liara's eyes showed a mixture of sadness and anger that Marcus was becoming familiar with. It was the same expression she got whenever people treated her like she could not think for herself. Marcus started bringing technical drawings and small gadgets to dinner, showing Liara how different machines worked while he ate. He discovered that she was fascinated by engineering and technology. Her eyes would light up when he explained how something was built or repaired. "You would make a great engineer," Marcus told her one night after she had correctly understood a complex repair procedure just by watching his drawings. "You see problems in ways that most people miss." This comment seemed to make Liara especially happy. Marcus noticed that very few people ever complimented her intelligence or abilities. As the weeks passed, Marcus became more and more frustrated with Liara's communication device. It was clearly designed by people who thought she could only handle simple concepts. The pictures were basic, the interface was slow, and there was no way for her to express complex thoughts. "This thing is terrible," Marcus said one evening, picking up the device to examine it more closely. "It is like they built it for a small child, not for someone as smart as you." Liara's eyes followed every movement as Marcus turned the device over in his hands. He could see the internal components through a clear panel on the back. The technology was impressive, but it was also incredibly outdated. "I think I could build something better," Marcus said thoughtfully. "Human technology works differently than what your people use. We have developed some really good systems for helping people communicate when they cannot use their voices or hands." For the first time since Marcus had known her, Liara's eyes showed something that looked like hope. Marcus spent his free time over the next several days researching communication technology in the station's library systems. He discovered that humans had developed much more advanced assistive devices than what most other species used. The human approach focused on understanding what the person wanted to say, not just providing a limited set of responses. "The problem with your current device," Marcus explained to Liara, "is that it assumes you can only think simple thoughts. But I can see in your eyes that you are thinking about complex things all the time. You just need a way to get those thoughts out of your head." Marcus began sketching designs for a new communication system that would use eye-tracking technology combined with predictive software and advanced language processing. It would be much more complicated to build than anything he had ever attempted, but he was confident he could do it. "It will take me a few weeks to gather all the parts I need," Marcus told Liara. "But I promise you, we are going to build something that will let you say everything you have been thinking all these years." The hope in Liara's eyes grew stronger every day, and Marcus worked harder than he had ever worked on anything in his life. Marcus spent every free moment for the next 3 weeks building Liara's new communication device. His small quarters became a workshop filled with salvaged parts, borrowed tools, and technical manuals. He barely slept, working late into each night by the light of his desk lamp. The hardest part was combining human neural interface technology with Althari quantum processors. The two systems were designed completely differently. Human technology focused on understanding intentions and emotions, while Althari systems preferred precise, logical commands. Marcus had to build a bridge between these approaches that would work for Liara's specific needs. "The eye tracking is working perfectly," Marcus told Liara during one of their dinners. "But I am still having trouble with the language processing. Your people use sentence structures that are very different from human languages." Liara watched patiently as Marcus showed her the latest version of the device. It was much smaller than her old communication system, designed to fit comfortably on the table in front of her. The screen was larger and clearer, and the interface looked much more sophisticated. Marcus had also added a voice synthesis system that could speak in several different languages. The voice was pleasant and clear, Nothing like the mechanical sounds of most translation devices. He had spent hours adjusting the tone and rhythm to make sure it sounded natural. "I think we are ready to test it," Marcus said nervously on a Thursday evening. "Are you ready to try?" Liara's eyes showed excitement, mixed with nervousness. She had been waiting for this moment for weeks. But Marcus could tell she was also scared that the device might not work. Marcus carefully positioned the new communication system in front of Liara and activated the startup sequence. The screen glowed softly, showing a simple interface with symbols and letters arranged in patterns that would be easy for her eyes to navigate. "Just look at what you want to say," Marcus said quietly. "The system will track your eye movements and predict what words you are trying to choose. Take your time." Liara began moving her eyes across the screen, selecting letters and symbols. Marcus watched the display as words started forming. The system was working, tracking her choices and building sentences based on her selections. The first complete sentence appeared on the screen. "Thank you for seeing me." The device's speakers activated, and Liara's new voice spoke the words clearly. The sound was soft and pleasant, with just a slight accent that reflected her Althari background. Marcus felt tears forming in his eyes. After weeks of preparation, months of watching Liara struggle with her limited communication options, she finally had a real voice. "You are welcome," Marcus said, his own voice shaky with emotion. Liara's eyes moved quickly across the interface, selecting words and phrases with increasing speed as she became more comfortable with the system. Her second sentence was longer. "I have been waiting 20 years to say that. Drainwen. Drainwen. I have been waiting 20 years to say that." Marcus stared at her in shock. 20 years? You have been unable to speak for 20 years? "Yes," came Liara's synthesized voice. "I was in an accident when I was very young. The doctors said I would never communicate again. My family accepted this. Everyone accepted this. You are the first person to think I might have things to say." The weight of this revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. For 20 years, Liara had been trapped inside her own body. Unable to express her thoughts or feelings, she had watched the world around her, understanding everything but unable to participate in conversations or defend herself or share her ideas. "What else do you want to tell me?" Marcus asked softly. Liara's response came quickly, as if she had been preparing these words for years. "I want to tell you about the corruption in my father's government. I want to tell you about the officials who have been stealing money meant for medical research. I want to tell you about the military plans I have overheard that could start a war. I want to tell you that I love mathematics and engineering and poetry. I want to tell you that I have designed 17 different improvements to this station's life support systems just by watching the maintenance reports. I want to tell you everything." 2. Marcus sat back in his chair, overwhelmed. Liara was not just intelligent, she was brilliant, and she had been watching and learning and analyzing everything around her for 2 decades, while everyone assumed she could not understand simple concepts. "Who is your father?" Marcus asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "Emperor Velneth of the Althari Confederation," Liara replied. "I am Princess Liara, heir to the throne. Though no one believes I am capable of ruling." Marcus looked around the dining area with new eyes. The guards, the expensive furnishings, the respectful treatment from staff members, everything suddenly made sense. He had been having dinner with alien royalty for weeks without realizing it. "Why did you not tell me before?" Marcus asked. "Because you treated me like a person, not like a princess," Liara said. "You talked to me about your work, and your problems, and your ideas. You never acted like you were talking to someone important. For the first time in my life, I was just Liara, not the Emperor's broken daughter." Word of Liara's breakthrough spread quickly through the upper levels of the station. Within hours, important-looking Althari officials were gathering around their table, speaking in excited whispers. Some looked amazed and hopeful. Others looked worried and suspicious. "Some of them do not want me to have a voice," Liara explained to Marcus as they watched the growing crowd. "For 20 years, they have made decisions for me, spoken for me, controlled my life. If I can speak for myself, they lose that power. An elderly Althari in elaborate robes approached their table and spoke directly to Liara in their language for several minutes. Marcus could not understand the words, but the tone was clearly demanding. Liara's response, spoken through her new device in the same language, was firm and confident. The elderly official's expression grew angry, and he spoke more harshly. "What is he saying?" Marcus asked. "He wants me to stop using the device," Liara replied, switching back to English. "He says it is unnatural, and that I should accept my limitations. He says humans should not interfere with Althari medical conditions." Marcus felt his temper rising. "That is ridiculous. This device is not changing your medical condition. It is just giving you a way to communicate." "He is afraid of what I might say," Liara said quietly. "And he should be." Emperor Velneth arrived at the station 3 days after news of his daughter's breakthrough reached the Althari homeworld. Marcus had never seen an emperor before, and he was surprised by how normal the man looked, tall and dignified, but not much different from other Althari officials Marcus had encountered. The emperor sat down at their table without ceremony and looked directly at his daughter. "Liara," he said simply, "I am told you can speak now." "Yes, father," Liara replied through her device. "Thanks to Marcus, I finally have a voice." Emperor Velneth turned his attention to Marcus, studying him carefully. "You are the mechanic who built this communication system?" "Yes, sir," Marcus said nervously. He had no idea how to address an emperor. "I just thought Liara deserved better than what she had before." "Show me how it works," the emperor said. Marcus explained the technical details, while Liara demonstrated the device's capabilities. She spoke fluently in 3 different languages, solved a complex mathematical equation by dictating her work, and even composed a short poem about the view from their table. Emperor Velneth listened to everything with growing amazement. "How long have you been able to think like this?" he asked his daughter. "Always, father," Liara replied. "I have been listening and learning and watching for 20 years. I understand economics, military strategy, engineering, art, and philosophy. I have just never been able to share my thoughts before now." The emperor was quiet for a long moment, clearly struggling with this revelation. Marcus could see the guilt and regret in his expression as he realized how much he had underestimated his daughter. "What would you like to tell me?" Emperor Velneth asked finally. Liara's response was immediate and devastating. "I want to tell you about Councillor Thren's embezzlement scheme. He has been stealing funds from the medical research budget for 8 years. I want to tell you about Admiral Koss's plan to attack the Nexus colonies without your approval. I want to tell you about the weapons deals that Minister Yuval has been arranging with our enemies. I have been watching and remembering everything, father." The emperor's face went pale. These were serious accusations against some of his most trusted advisors. "Are you certain of these claims?" "Completely certain," Liara said. "I can provide dates, amounts, and details of every transaction I have witnessed. I can tell you exactly which meetings were held and what was discussed. I have a perfect memory for everything I have seen and heard." Over the next several hours, Liara systematically revealed 20 years of accumulated information about corruption, betrayal, and abuse of power within the imperial government. She had been present at countless meetings where officials thought she could not understand their conversations. She had observed secret deals, overheard private discussions, and witnessed crimes that had gone unpunished because no one thought she was capable of testifying about them. Marcus watched in amazement as Liara transformed from a silent observer into a powerful witness. Her intelligence and attention to detail were remarkable. But more than that, she showed a deep understanding of politics, economics, and justice that impressed even her father. This information could revolutionize the empire, Emperor Velneth said, when Liara finished her initial report. But it will also make powerful enemies. As if summoned by these words, Councillor Thren arrived at the table with a group of armed guards. Marcus recognized him as the elderly official who had demanded that Liara stop using her communication device. "Your Majesty," Thren said formally, "I must insist that you order the princess to stop using this dangerous human technology. It is clearly malfunctioning and causing her to make wild accusations. The device is working perfectly, Marcus said angrily. And Liara is not making accusations. She is reporting crimes. Thren ignored Marcus completely. The princess is obviously confused and should be returned to her medical care immediately. This human has filled her mind with nonsense. I am not confused, Liara said firmly through her device. I can prove everything I have said. Would you like me to describe your private meeting with the Zephyrian arms dealers last month? I can quote your exact words. Thren's expression changed from dismissive to dangerous. Enough. Guards, arrest the human for corrupting a member of the imperial family. The guards moved toward Marcus, but Emperor Velneth raised his hand to stop them. Wait. I want to hear what my daughter has to say about this meeting. Liara proceeded to describe the secret arms deal in precise detail, including exact quotes, financial figures, and plans for using the weapons against Althari colonies. Thren's face grew more desperate with each revelation. She is lying, Thren shouted. This human device is making her say things that are not true. Then how does she know about your secret bank account on Kepler Station? Emperor Velneth asked quietly. The one you think I do not know about? Thren realized he had been caught. His hand moved toward his weapon. But Marcus was already moving. 3 years of crawling through maintenance tunnels had kept Marcus in good physical condition, and his reflexes were faster than the aging counselor expected. Marcus tackled Thren before he could draw his weapon, sending both men crashing to the floor. Thren's guards hesitated, unsure whether to help their leader or obey their emperor. Secure Counselor Thren, Emperor Velneth ordered, and arrest any guard who moves to help him. The situation escalated quickly after that. Several other corrupt officials learned that Liara was providing testimony about their crimes, and they decided to eliminate both her and Marcus before more damage could be done. The assassination attempt came that evening while Marcus was in his quarters working on improvements to Liara's communication system. A group of masked figures broke down his door and attacked without warning. Marcus barely escaped, using his knowledge of the station's maintenance tunnels to evade his attackers. He made his way to the upper dining area, where he found Liara surrounded by strange guards, who were not part of the Emperor's regular security. Marcus, Liara said through her device as soon as she saw him. These men are here to kill us both. We need to reach my father immediately. Marcus looked around desperately. The station's security systems were controlled from the central command center, but that was 3 levels away and probably heavily guarded by now. However, Marcus knew something that the assassins did not. He had helped design many of the station's backup systems, and he knew how to control them from maintenance panels throughout the facility. Can you access the station's internal communication system through your device? Marcus asked Liara. Yes. But why? Because I'm going to turn this entire dining area into a fortress, Marcus said grimly. And then we are going to call for help. Marcus crawled under the nearest table and accessed a maintenance panel that most people would never notice. His fingers flew over the controls as he rerouted power systems, activated emergency barriers, and turned the dining area's lighting into a controllable defense system. Liara, can you connect to the station's main communication array? Marcus asked while working. Yes, came her reply through the device. What do you need me to do? Send a message to your father. Tell him we are trapped in the upper dining area and that the corrupt officials are trying to kill us. Then access the station's security cameras and guide me through the corridors. The assassins realized what Marcus was doing and rushed toward his position. But Marcus had already activated the emergency barriers. Thick metal panels slid down from the ceiling, dividing the dining area into separate sections and trapping the attackers away from Marcus and Liara. Your father is sending help, Liara reported, but it will take at least 20 minutes for loyal troops to reach us. The conspirators have blocked the main access routes. Marcus continued working on the control panel, activating systems throughout the station that he had helped install over the years. Emergency lights began flashing in patterns that would confuse and disorient the attackers. Air circulation fans increased their speed, creating noise that would mask Marcus and Liara's movements. There is a maintenance tunnel behind the wall near your position, Liara said, watching the station blueprints through her device's connection. If you can reach it, we can escape to the central command center. Marcus looked at the wall Liara had indicated. There was indeed a maintenance access panel there, hidden behind decorative paneling. But reaching it meant crossing an open area where the assassins could see them. "I have an idea," Marcus said. "But I need you to trust me completely." "I trust you," Liara replied without hesitation. Marcus connected Liara's communication device directly to the station's central computer system, giving her access to controls that even the station commander rarely used. Her brilliant mind and 20 years of accumulated technical knowledge made her a formidable opponent when combined with the station's sophisticated systems. "Take control of the artificial gravity in Section 12, Marcus instructed. "When I signal you, reduce it to 10% for exactly 15 seconds. Liara's understanding was immediate. "That will cause the attackers to float helplessly while you carry me to the tunnel." "Exactly. Are you ready?" "Ready." Marcus counted down from 3, then signaled Liara. The artificial gravity in their section dropped dramatically, causing the assassins to lose their footing and float toward the ceiling. Marcus quickly lifted Liara from her chair and launched himself toward the maintenance panel, using the low gravity to cross the distance in a single leap. They reached the tunnel just as gravity returned to normal, causing their attackers to crash back to the floor in confusion. Marcus sealed the access panel behind them and began carrying Liara through the narrow maintenance corridors he knew better than anyone else on the station. "Where are we going?" Liara asked. "Central Command," Marcus replied. "Once we get there, you can take control of all the station's systems. These conspirators have no idea how to fight someone who can think like you and access technology like this." The journey through the maintenance tunnels took 10 minutes, but they encountered no resistance. The assassins were still trying to figure out how to get past the barriers Marcus had activated in the dining area. When they reached Central Command, Marcus was surprised to find Emperor Velneth already there with a full security team. The Emperor had moved quickly once he received Liara's message, securing the most important areas of the station before the conspirators could react. "Father," Liara said as Marcus carefully placed her in a chair near the main control console. "The assassination attempt confirms everything I told you about the corruption. They were willing to kill us to keep their crimes secret." Emperor Velneth nodded grimly. "I have already ordered the arrest of everyone you named in your testimony. Some of them resisted and confirmed their guilt through their actions." Quote, "Over the following hours, Marcus and Liara worked together to help Imperial security forces round up the remaining conspirators. Liara's access to the station's systems, combined with Marcus's technical knowledge, made them an unstoppable team. They tracked the criminals through security cameras, controlled access doors to trap them, and even used the station's communication system to coordinate the arrests. "You two make an impressive partnership," Emperor Velneth observed, as the last of the corrupt officials was taken into custody. "Marcus taught me that my limitations do not define my capabilities," Liara replied. "And I taught him that intelligence can be found in unexpected places." The Emperor looked at Marcus with new respect. "You have given my daughter something far more valuable than a communication device. You have given her a future." 3 months later, Marcus stood in the Imperial Palace on the Althari homeworld, wearing formal diplomatic clothes but still with grease stains under his fingernails that never seemed to completely wash away. He had been appointed as the first director of inclusive technology for the Althari Confederation, tasked with developing adaptive systems for all disabled citizens throughout the Empire. Princess Liara sat beside him at the council table, participating fully in government meetings for the first time in her life. Her communication device had been upgraded multiple times, incorporating feedback from other disabled individuals who were finally being recognized as valuable members of society. The Adaptive Minds Institute has received funding for 50 new research projects, Liara reported to the council. "We are developing technologies that will help people with every type of physical limitation participate fully in society." The transformation had been remarkable. Once the Althari people learned about Liara's intelligence and capabilities, attitudes toward disability began changing throughout the Empire. Families stopped hiding disabled relatives. Schools developed inclusive education programs. Employers began recognizing the unique perspectives and problem-solving abilities of people who had been overlooked for generations. "The human approach to inclusion has revolutionized our understanding of potential," Emperor Velneth announced to the council. "We are stronger as an empire when we embrace all forms of intelligence and capability." Marcus smiled as he watched Liara lead a discussion about quantum computing applications. The woman who had once been silent and ignored was now one of the most influential voices in the Empire. Her insights into government, technology, and social policy were shaping the future of an entire civilization. After the council meeting ended, Marcus and Liara returned to their old table in what was now called the Inclusive Dining Center. The space had been redesigned to accommodate people with various disabilities, and it had become a symbol of the Empire's commitment to equality. "Do you ever regret sitting at the wrong table that first night?" Liara asked. Marcus looked out at the stars through the same window where this all began. "It was not the wrong table," he said. "It was exactly the right table. I just did not know it at the time." Liara's synthesized laugh had become one of Marcus's favorite sounds. "Sometimes the best discoveries happen by accident. Or maybe," Marcus said thoughtfully, "some accidents are actually destiny pretending to be chance." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching ships arrive and depart from the station, knowing that each one carried news of the changes spreading throughout Althari space. The unfortunate mechanic and the silent princess had become partners in revolution, proving that dignity, ingenuity, and compassion could transform civilizations.